In this video, we're going to learn how to control your Braiins OS Miner from Home Assistant. Home Assistant is an home automation system that is completely open source and can be installed on many different devices, like Raspberry Pis and others. In this video, we assume we already have installed Home Assistant. If you don't have that already, you will find many different tutorials and videos online how to install Home Assistant. In order to control our miner with Home Assistant, we need to install a so-called integration. An integration teaches Home Assistant how to talk to our miner. The integration we're going to use is not shipped with Home Assistant itself, therefore we have to install it additionally. Maybe in the future, the miner integration will be already shipped with Home Assistant, but for now we need to do this manually. In order to install this, we need to install a tool called Hux. And Hux will allow us to install our miner integration. In order to install Hux, we need to have a terminal first. We do this via going to Admin or your profile and click the Advanced mode. After you have enabled the Advanced mode, you can go to Settings and go to Add-ons. We don't have an add-on yet, but we want to look at the add-on store. And here we're going to search for Terminal. And we're going to pick the first one, the official Terminal and SSH add-on. And click Install. This will install a terminal that we can run custom commands like the Hux installer inside Home Assistant. After installation is done, you can start the terminal. After it's started, we can open the web UI, which will open a terminal inside the browser. In here, we're pasting the Hux installation script from the Hux website. And this will install Hux on our Home Assistant. Now we have to restart Home Assistant. We go to Settings, System, Restart. This will restart Home Assistant and start Hux in the background. After Home Assistant has restarted, we can go to Settings, Integrations, and search via Add Integration for Hux. Acknowledge all the checkboxes. Now, this will require for you to log in into GitHub. If you don't have a GitHub account, you can create one for free and authorize your Home Assistant and Hux with that account. I will do this off screen. After I've authenticated Hux in GitHub, Hux will install. After Hux has been installed, you can see it in the integrations list and also in the sidebar. We click on the sidebar. Hux has different plugin types. There are integrations and front ends. We want to install an integration, so we click on integration. And we need to teach Hux about our miner integration, so we click on the top right onto custom repositories. And under repository, you paste the URL of the OS Miner repository, and you select that this is an integration. You click Add. After this is done, we see the new repository that has been added, and we can now select our miner. So we search in all the repositories for miner. This will load us the information about this, and we can click Download repository with Hux, and this will be downloaded for us automatically. We see now that the miner integration has been installed, but because it's a fresh one, we need to restart Home Assistant first. So we go to Settings, System, Restart. After Home Assistant has restarted, we can now add our miner to it. In order to do this, go to Settings, Devices and Integrations, and click on Add Integration and search for miner. In case you don't see the miner here, make sure that you hard refresh your browser tab, as some of the integrations might be cached and your browser doesn't know yet that there's a new integration. Click on the miner and wait until it's set up. Now enter the IP address of your miner and click Submit. The integration has now reached out to the miner to get its hostname. If you see the hostname here, it successfully reached out. Please be aware that right now there are only 3 combinations of username and passwords that work with Braiins OS and this integration. That is root root, admin and root and admin. After we finish the integration, we can see a new miner added to our list of integrations, and we can click on the device and it will show us an overview of our current status of our miner. On top we see 2 controls where we can set the power limit and we can either turn on and off the miner. Plus we see all kind of different sensors for each of the hash boards, the actual hash rate, what current the consumption is, what the power limit is, if the power limit is scaled because of temperature, and the temperature itself of the miner's chips. I've pulled up my Braiins OS Plus web interface for the same miner, and we can see how Home Assistant automatically updates the data, for example, for the temperature and also for the hash rate. Home Assistant will reach out to the miner every 10 seconds to get that data. So the data might not be in real time, but 10 seconds is pretty well. Now we can use these controls to control our miner. If I click the miner here, we can see on the right side how the miner turned off and the hash rate is going down. Or I can also change the power settings. My miner is currently set to 1.6 kilowatts, and I can change this over here to, let's say, 600. And we'll see that the miner is shortly restarting its mining process, and it will come back momentarily with 600 watts. Like we see here. And of course, I can also set it back to 1600. Now, while we can of course control the miner manually, it would be really cool if we could control the miner fully automatically based on the room temperature. We could heat a room when it's too cold, and we can stop the miner when it's too warm. For this, we need a temperature sensor in the room. Home Assistant has thousands of integrations in all kind of different systems. In this example, I'm using one that I shortly built before, which is called an ESP Home, which is an ESP32 with a temperature sensor on it. Home Assistant already recognizes this one over here, and I can configure that one. And like the miner before, it will show me that I have a temperature sensor here, which is the temperature in the room that I'm currently in. Now I can do automations based on this. I can click on automations, and I can say if the demo temperature changes, I can say turn off miner when temperature above 30 Celsius. And I say the device has already been selected, and I can say if the temperature is above 30, I want my Antminer to turn off. And I saved it. And I can see now in the ESP Home overview, I can see how my automation is there. And also, if I go back to the miner, I can also see that there is a temperature here as well. After we configure it, we can test it now. In this example, I've set the temperature to 30 degrees. It's currently at 28.3, and my miner is running at full speed. If I increase the temperature of the sensor, we can see it goes up above 30, and the miner has automatically shut off because the temperature was above 30. Now, of course, you can do all kind of additional automation. I could say, if the temperature goes below, let's say 28 degrees, I could turn the miner on again. Or I can also set another power limit. I could set on a low value that the miner runs with, let's say 300 watts, and the higher limit is 1600. Your imagination and your ideas are limitless here. Of course, it's also possible to add multiple miners. You just go back to settings, integrations, and add another miner. And there is many other ways how you could configure this. This is just the beginning of a lot more to come in heating your house with your miner.